The Moon is Always Round by Jonathan Gibson and illustrated by Joel Hawks. When I look up on a sunny day, the sky is blue and bright, and jet planes paint lines on its canvas. When I look up on a stormy day, the sky is gray and dull. The clouds pour rain and flash and boom with lightning and thunder. When I look up on a summer's evening, the sky is red and orange and purpley pink, and the sun looks like it's falling from the sky on fire. When I look up on a clear night, the sky is dark, and the stars twinkle and sparkle like diamonds. But the moon isn't always round. Dad said the moon is always round, even when you can't see all of it. When Dad told me that I was getting a little sister, the moon looked like a banana. But Dad said the moon is always round. When the crib was put together, the moon looked like a slice of apple. But Dad said the moon is always round. When Mommy's tummy began to look like a watermelon, the moon looked like a shriveled orange. But Dad said the moon is always round. Even when I was told that my little sister wasn't coming to live with us after all the waiting, Dad said, the moon is always round. When my parents left in the middle of the night for the hospital, and the next morning I went off to play school, I thought, will the moon be round tonight? Dad said, the moon is always round. When I waited at the hospital to meet my little sister, and we left without her, I asked, why, Daddy? And he replied, I don't know why, but the moon is always round. When we got home from the hospital, I looked for the moon before bed. It was a half moon. But Dad said, the moon is always round. And when it was still just the three of us, and we went to the church to say goodbye, my dad asked me, what shape is the moon? I said, the moon is always round. And Dad said, what does that mean? I said, God is always good. For the Lord is good, his steadfast love endures forever, and his faithfulness to all generations. Psalm 100, verse 5. Leela Judith Grace, stillborn, 39 weeks old, the 17th of March, 2016. The moon serves as a good illustration to teach our children about God's goodness. Even when we cannot see the whole moon as it orbits the earth, the moon is always round. It's the same with God's goodness. There are times in our lives when things happen to us that make us question or doubt God's goodness, like when someone in our family dies. But just because we cannot always see God's goodness during difficult times, this does not mean that God is not good in those times. God is always good, even when we cannot see it. Just like the moon is always round, even when we cannot see all of it. A good memory verse is, "For the Lord is good, his steadfast love endures forever, and his faithfulness to all generations." Psalm 100, verse 5. Good Friday is a concrete example to teach our children about God's goodness in difficult times. On Good Friday, when Jesus died on the cross, he experienced the most difficult of times. That day, the sun was blanked out, and the whole world went dark. The darkest it has ever been. No stars twinkled. There was not even a sliver of moon in the sky to give Jesus some light. And yet in the darkness, God showed the whole world that he was still good. Because in that moment, Jesus died for our sins so that we could be forgiven. It's why the day is called Good Friday. Because even though Jesus died in the darkness, God was still good. Just like the moon was still round, even though no one could see it. Another memory verse, "In him, in Jesus, we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins in accordance with the riches of his grace." Ephesians 1, verse 5.